And welcome to the Postgame Pint. I'm John Bonus of TwinsDaily.com. With me, David Youngs and Andrew Gibu of TwinsDaily.com. We are starting the top of the ninth. We said either the top of the ninth or 4:30. I kind of put 4:30 as like an outside boy. I don't know if it'll really last that long. That'll be my safety. It started just about then because playoff games take forever, as we're all relearning. I'm just retweeting the post-game pint right now so that people can find it. It is a 1-1 game in the top of the ninth. And to be honest with you, I don't know exactly how we're going to do the post-game pint today because I don't know if it goes very, very late, whether or not we're going to I'm going to have to start hoping it goes very, very late here pretty soon. Let's see. We should mention that we are brought to you by Soda Stick. I am wearing my Soda Stick Wiener Winner t-shirt, which I just changed into. I didn't have it on when they first scored, and as a result, I couldn't change my shirt because that would have been bad luck. But once they gave it up, I figured I better switch up the luck, and so I'm going with the Wiener Winner t-shirt. David Youngs, Andrew Gibo, I know that you guys also have some Soda Stick stuff. David, you got something at least. Andrew, I think you're expecting something.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, if you're watching, go check out sodastick.com. They've got some great stuff. My personal favorite that I own right now is my Mick Golden Pond Hockey Club shirt. Unfortunately, that one's in the dirty laundry at my apartment in St. Peter. I'm up in Fargo this weekend, but I do have my free screensaver, which says "Kick their asterisks." If you know,
very nice. All right.
You know.
Good.
And hopefully the Twins can do that. And I should mention, I'm drinking a based out of Minneapolis, Minnesota, Sociable Cider Works freewheeler dry apple cider.
Started by an alum from my college, Carleton College. So,
hey, go Knights! Go Knights!
I've been doing that several times, but I'll tell you a little hint about cider, Sociable Cider. They started, their first day was the day after Thanksgiving, Black Friday, several years ago. They always have a big party the day after Black Friday. I don't know if they'll have it this year, but it's a great party. I've got a Sequence Ale by Dogfish Head. I don't know if you can. Oh, there we go. And let's see. Andrew, I know you had something from Soda Stick. I know it's a hoodie from them, but I also wanted to say, you think it's going to arrive before this Twins playoff run is over?
The way this game's going, it might arrive before this game's over. But yeah, hopefully it comes in the mail. I got the Super Rosario hoodie, and I used the promo code Twins Daily to get free shipping.
Well, that's good. And, good idea. That's right.
Right now,
it's been an interesting game. We talked a little bit on the Gleeman and the Geek podcast about how, with all the reputation that this team has of the Bomba Squad and the identity of the Bomba Squad and how much attention we've paid to the offense, I think we have lost track of how good the pitching for the Twins has been. They are literally the second best pitching staff in Major League Baseball. And that is going to be the strength that is going to keep them in games or advance them throughout the postseason. And I thought that is actually the key for this particular series and maybe for the rest of the postseason. And for a while, and I mean, it really is, that seemed to be the case. Kenta Maeda was brilliant. I had some struggles, but I mean, so did Zach Greinke. National pitch for pitch was ready to go into the sixth inning, but then the Twins ended up having a long bottom and a half of the fifth, and it looks like he got pulled after reconsidering that because of how long he was on the bench. May came in the sixth, did great. I have all the confidence in the world in Tyler Duffy. He did not reward it today. Struggled in the seventh, assisted by a play by Marwin Gonzalez that was not made. It doesn't mean it was an error. It just meant it was a play that wasn't made. Run ended up scoring on what I would say are some kind of lucky hits by the Astros. The Twins, I would also say, have been incredibly unlucky. I saw a stat by Matthew Taylor that the Twins have had 6 balls hit with an exit velocity of over 100 miles per hour. Only one ended up as a hit. And they've had some bad luck in the first inning with a screaming line driver Rosario right at the first baseman. Also a squib by Sano. It probably would have been a lucky hit had he actually done it. It looked like it was a close play at first. I think it could have been called either way. I think whichever way it was called, the video would have confirmed. It ended up being called he was out. I can't disagree necessarily with the call. And as a result, they ended up not scoring. They did get one run when Max Kepler scored on a Nelson Cruz double. A very aggressive base running play and a fantastic slide by Kepler. then I said like that they gave up that lead finally in the I think it was the seventh inning. And now they are trying to make their way through the ninth here with Sergio Romo on the mound and a couple of players, a couple of Astros aboard. And then we would be going to the bottom of the ninth. All right, guys. So if you have to write now, this is always interesting because if you're writing about these games, you're sitting in the press box and you've got a story written, and that story has a narrative about this game, right? It is, and sometimes that narrative depends on the result, but that shouldn't necessarily, right? I mean, one goofy hit here, goofy there, maybe that's what the narrative is. If you're sitting there right now, what is your story about for this game right now? I'll start with you, Andrew.
Right now, my story is basically the headline is going to be: Will the postseason curse continue for the Minnesota Twins? You come in today, you're hoping you can kind of break this streak of losses in the postseason. Looked good in the first, didn't capitalize there, and they've missed a lot of opportunities to score. Hopefully, they can break the curse here late in the innings. But that's my headline: is will the curse continue?
Well, and it did feel like they've gotten a lot of bad luck too. That curse-wise, it feels like a lot of stuff. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness! Not everybody is up to date with me on because I've got Comcast, so I get to see it first. We will see what everybody else's reaction. Do you guys just see the play by?
No.
Okay, I will hold off that. All right. You let us know when you get there, Andrew, and we'll talk a little bit about it. Because alternately, I just mentioned some of the bad luck that the Twins have had. The hard hit balls that ended up hits, the ground balls by the Astros that ended up finding a way through the infield. Then there are some times that you just create your own bad luck, right? Marwin Gonzalez's play that ended up scoring a run. And now we just had a play by Polanco that looked like it should have been an easy out. A bad throw by him to second base and Luis Arraez. Arraez can't reach it, and now all the runners are safe, and now we are Romo is going to have to throw, pitches 19 through whatever to try and get out of a bases loaded 2-out jam in the ninth inning. Unbelievable.
That's just.
So, I mean, bad luck can be a part of it. And, little plays like that can be bad luck too. Do you know what I mean? But it becomes even maybe more critical that you end up performing when you need to perform. And we haven't seen that. David, how about you? Did you have a narrative right now if you were writing a story about this?
Yeah, well, I would say right now, obviously the game's not over, but I think it could be summed up by a Seth Stoss tweet where he basically said, I've got to remind myself that the game is tied even though it feels like we're losing.
Right.
I think that goes back to what we've already talked about with a lot of bloop hits from the Astros. The Twins have hit the snot out of the ball a couple of times, starting from the Eddie Rosario line out in the first inning to Yuri Gurriel. But I think that, getting over that hump is really important. And Maeda did his job today. First scoreless pitching appearance since 2004 when Johan Santana was pitching.
Right.
And I liked what you said earlier, John, that, pitching, is the Twins' strength this year, in my opinion. And it's, I think for a lot of people that can be tough to understand given the history of this program or of the, the franchise recently. And obviously what we saw last year with the Bomba squad, but the Twins pitchers have been, rock solid for the most part this year.
Yeah, I mean, the identity of this team has all been around their hitting, partly based on last year's performance, and I think partly based on there's just a lot of big personalities over on the lineup side, on the hitting side. I can't think of any big personalities that really dominate sort of the. I mean, well, there's Sergio Romo, right? But but other than that,
Taylor Rogers smile once every 2 years.
Right, exactly. Yeah, Tyler Duffy, Trevor May, lovely guys, just not real gregarious personalities. And as a result, I can see where we can tend to identify more with the hitting than we do with the pitching on this. I like your point that, we kind of come into this process a little bit jaded, that we come into it a little bit worried about, everything. And even in a tie game, you feel like you are really behind. You almost expect things to go wrong, and Twins are right now working their best to actually to escape that perception, but they're not doing a particularly good job of it. Yeah, I think my narrative is sort of that this team was during the regular season who they are during the postseason, which is they are a pitching first team. They have not been a hitting team. We've been waiting all year for the hitting to really develop. That hitting was dealt some blows here in the last 5 days and even by the roster announcement today that Josh Donaldson is not even going to be on the roster. And then we, end up seeing, a number of players who really aren't at their best in clutch situations here today. And as a result, we end up falling behind here in the top of the ninth with a bases loaded walk from Sergio Romo, which is the other question that we've had throughout this game is what's going to happen when we get to the back end of the bullpen? Are they going to be able to keep it together? And that becomes a lot easier to handle if you actually make plays behind them. To go back to both of your points, it's feeling a little bit like a self-fulfilling prophecy at this point. That you kind of expect the worst to happen, and the worst keeps happening. We haven't seen the team find a way to gut its way through. This really does feel to me like, if I was going to do a story, it'd be sort of like, this team has to find a way to get through a 3-game series versus a team that is frankly inferior. I think a little bit inferior. Get out of the slide, that the postseason slide they have had, and then just get some positive momentum going. As well as, buy themselves some time to get a little bit healthier. Get, Cruz over his sore back and, Sano over his sore neck, and, Garver finding himself again, Donaldson's calf getting better, Buxton away from the mild concussion symptoms. I don't know if you are looking at, tomorrow's game, and we now know at least that they won't be facing a left-handed starter because the Astros did use their one left-handed starter for 4 or 5 innings today. I kind of thought that was a risky move, and I kind of thought it was a risky move that could hurt them tomorrow. And to do that in a game in which they were behind, I thought was a somewhat questionable tactic. It ended up so far looking like it's worked pretty well, but at least they won't be facing a left-hander tomorrow. Are there any changes or different things you would like to see, strings that Rocco Baldelli can pull to try and turn things around for tomorrow?
I'd say the only thing is, just because he's up, it might be nice to see Kirilloff, but really the only place that you can kind of maybe plug him in would be at first base. Sano hasn't really been hitting all that well, but likely facing McCullers tomorrow, another righty. I think it could be an opportunity to get Kirilloff his first, big league action if the Twins do decide that they want to sit Miguel Sano, but that's really the only major change I could see on the lineup for tomorrow.
I will call out one thing that I thought was sort of a questionable decision, and I think there was already a lot of discussion about it on Twitter, and I wonder how they're going to play it tomorrow. Ryan Jeffers was the starting catcher for the first 6 innings, had a couple of at-bats. Neither of those at-bats did he get a hit, but both of those at-bats he hit the ball hard, 100-plus miles an hour, at the bottom of the 7th when the Twins the game had been tied 1-1. Mitch Garver was scheduled to lead off. Am I right about that? It was the bottom of the 7th that happened?
Yep.
Mitch Garver was scheduled to lead, or not Mitch Garver, Jeffers was scheduled to lead off. He was pinch hit for by Garver. And then immediately, Garver didn't even stay in to catch. They ended up switching to Avila to take that to take that spot. Jeffers has. I will say this about Jeffers. I thought the umpire today was especially good at not being fooled by framed pitches. I didn't think Jeffers had any luck whatsoever in framing pitches and getting the extra inch or half inch or a couple inches that he often gets on strike calls, and so he wasn't as valuable in the catching position as he often is. Now, it turns out Maeda didn't really need it. He ended up going 5 anyway, right? But I still think Jeffers is better than Garver right now defensively, and I also think Jeffers is better than Garver right now offensively. They're both right-handed. There was no matchup problem there. I didn't really understand the move, and I'm wondering, where about the only way I could really justify that move is to say, maybe they're trying to save Jeffers for another day game tomorrow, which I'm hoping they will do. I don't know. Either of you guys have an opinion on what the Twins were doing a catcher today or what they should be doing tomorrow?
Yeah, well, I wholeheartedly agree with both you, John, and Andrew, in the sense that, I do think that Jeffers is the better offensive player and defensive player. Yes, he wasn't able to frame as effectively as we've seen him do this year. But I'm curious to hear what Rocco says in the post game about about that decision, because it was one that puzzled me as well.
Yeah, I will be interested as well. All right, we've got a fair. I really appreciate the people who are putting comments. Whether or not you are joining us via Facebook, or you're joining us via Periscope/Twitter, or whether or not you're joining us via YouTube, we've got all kinds of comments on this. I'll throw the first one up here. John Landis, any opinions on the umpire? I've been real disappointed with the umpiring throughout the regular season. I thought through the first couple innings, and I thought all game, he was pretty true to the strike zone. I really don't think either catcher could fool him much with their framing, and I thought, frankly, that left the pitchers a little frustrated because I think they were getting used to getting. I think both catchers have gotten their pitchers used to getting a couple extra inches off the plate. That said, I felt like he was deferring to Greinke a lot more than he was deferring to Maeda. And I also felt like, even in the late innings, Houston was getting the extra inch or two off of the plate, whereas the Twins, there were at least a dozen calls where I thought, maybe as many as a dozen calls where I thought, well, that was just off a little bit, but almost all 12 of those went Houston's way. Very few. I can't think of a single play call by the umpire that I thought, oh, the Twins got lucky on that one. I don't know. Did you guys? I don't know how closely you were able to watch that. I don't know. Either of you guys have an opinion on the umpiring today?
No strong opinion. I mean, kind of what you touched on, John. I think overall we've seen some pretty spotchy umpiring throughout the season. And it's just continued a little bit here today. Although I would say that at least from what I was able to see, he called a relatively fair game. I felt like the strike zone has at least gotten wider as we've gotten later into the game. And Garver's at bat is when I really kind of started to notice that. There were 2 strikes called on Garver that just should not have been strikes.
Yes,
and it
right.
kind of hurt him a little bit.
Yeah, and I mean, as critical as people were about Garver at that bat, I think that was worth pointing out that at least 2 of the called strikes were not strikes. So it ended up. I mean, that's one of the reasons why that move probably backfired more than people would have liked it.
And I would add too. When Garver was in that at bat, we saw Tim Kirchin mention that Garver said to the umpire when that pitch was called a strike, he said that was the same one as the last pitch, wasn't it? Which the last pitch was called a ball. So it is really frustrating, not just as Minnesota Twins baseball fans, because this is something that's become routine in the sense that we've seen in the playoffs, what we've seen tonight, but also it's been a rough season for umpires.
Right.
Now, in my opinion, tonight there was some consistency at times. It wasn't like we saw against the White Sox series.
No, I agree with you.
Optimistic,
Yep.
but it's still, it's frustrating at times.
Now let's switch to another one. It may sound like we're blaming the umpire on this. I don't mean to be blaming the umpire on this. Fun fact: the offense is really bad. Jacob, yeah, I mean it is right now. Now let's be a little bit fair. They did face Zach Greinke today. Zach Greinke is going to shut down a lot of offenses. And in fact, when they had him on the ropes in the first inning, they did get a couple of bad luck plays that ended up hurting him. That said, they did nothing against him in innings 2 through 5. And then when they brought in Framber Valdez, they got the first 2 runners on, did nothing there. And frankly, hitting left-handed pitching has been a weakness for this team all year long. They did not do anything to address it at the trade deadline, in part because they knew they had Josh Donaldson and Byron Buxton coming off the DL. And for 2, 3, 4 days later, when that happened and they started hitting again, that seemed like a potentially decent move to make. But then Brent Rooker got hurt, who was one of their right-handed options, right? Sure enough, we get to the playoffs. Not only are Donaldson completely unavailable, Buxton is somewhat questionable. In the meantime, Nelson Cruz has gotten banged up. Miguel Sano looks like he's gotten banged up. And Mitch Garver, who they also expected to be back, hasn't really recovered. And so, the left-handed pitching continues to be a problem with the Twins. You can expect that to be an oversized problem in the playoffs because every team that they face is going to start using their left-handed pitchers, right? That's just the way you do it, right? You don't have to save them for anything. It's the postseason, right? And as the fact that the management team did not go out and grab a couple of additional right-handed bats that might help given that sort of situation. I think, especially since it was certainly called out at that time, I think that is, worth noting. Now, it was a tough trade deadline. There weren't a lot of deals made. It's understandable that they didn't end up making any big deals there, but it's not surprising that left-handed pitching bit this team in the butt here in the postseason. Any reaction on that, guys? Is it just the left-hand pitching, or are there other problems? I guess.
I'm not sure who John Daniels is, but after this game, I certainly need some. I need some Jack Daniels after this one.
Yeah, you go.
But the struggles against left-handed pitching has just been kind of one of the just wildest storylines. This team mashed baseballs all year last year, and especially against lefties, and they just haven't shown up. And the Donaldson injury certainly just makes that situation even worse. And kind of right there with everything that you just said, John, they're relying on Donaldson to be that guy to kind of carry the team against lefties along with Cruz. And then Garver hasn't really played that well this year. So it certainly has just been a very frustrating year against left-handed pitching. And we've seen it today when they brought in Valdez. That's his name, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Framber Valdez. Yeah, right. All right, let's talk about another aspect of the game here real quick. I'll just run through them. Arise, got to catch that. Terrible throw. Just play the game. Stop squeezing everything. This was the reactions in the ninth inning. We also saw some reactions, I think, earlier on the Marwin Gonzalez hit the third base. I'll say this. You never know exactly what's going to end up being the difference in the postseason. Infield defense was a difference maker in this game. Astros made a number of plays defensively that were really good. The Bregman throw out of Sano, Bregman throw out of Cruz was pretty good. There was a sharp ground ball down the first base line that was fielded cleanly. They were making infield plays that the Twins were not making. Now, let's be clear. Donaldson out, right? He's the Gold Glove third baseman, right? Arias has been questionable all year. Sano at first base, first year playing there. Polanco never particularly strong. So the Twins knew going into the season that their infield defense was not going to be a particularly strong point. I don't know that much about Houston's infield defense, whether it usually shines or not. Today it did, and it ended up being one of the difference makers in this game.
Yeah, and I agree with you. Not only did we see it today, but, you can say whatever you want about the Astros. And yes, they have not been a good hitting baseball team by any means this year. But like you said, John, they were stellar in the field today. Alex Bregman's a really good baseball player. And that's not to say that the Twins should not have won this baseball game. I also think when you look at that play with Marwin, at third, yes, Donaldson is the Gold Glove third baseman, but that's a really hard hit baseball. Does he make that play? Yes, his percentage of making that is probably higher than Marwin Gonzalez. But at the end of the day, that's a tough play, regardless of who you've got playing at third. And I also think that, coming down to that play in the top of the ninth, yes, that's a play that that Polanco should make in his sleep. Yes, you can say all you want about Arise diving and catching the ball, but that's a routine play for Polanco. But at the end of the day, I know it's a cliche coaching line, but there are other parts of today's game where the Twins could have come ahead. Yes, we say that that's an everyday play that he should make in his sleep, but you got to remember also in the postseason, there's pressure. There's a lot of pressure. Guys get tight. They don't play loose. Not saying that Polanco isn't a good player because, hell, he was the AL starting shortstop last year, and that's a play that he should make. But, when it comes down to it, the guys who can handle the pressure and make those plays are on the teams that win.
Yeah, let me pull up a couple more comments here. I'm going to see if I can find it because I saw two comments I thought were good together because here we go. Here's one, why not let Rogers start the ninth? And then the next one is, let's see. What's with Romo lately? We had questions about the back end of this bullpen over the last 2-3 weeks, right? Rogers has not been particularly successful as a closer. He hasn't been completely beat up. It's been a lot of balls that seem to find a way to get a hit, but at some point you kind of quit trusting it, right? Romo has also not been particularly good lately, and even in the Cincinnati Reds series, the last series of the year, he struggled a little bit. And so as a result of that, one of the things that we talked about, again, on the Gleeman and Geek podcast was, Aaron's point was that means you got to be really careful to not give up, stupid little runs anywhere in the middle innings, right? Because you don't want to get to the 8th and 9th inning and have it be a tie game or a close game. You want it to still be a 3 or 4 run game, right? My point was, no, it also means the opposite, which is you've got to take advantage of those chances that you get to squeak out a couple of runs, right? And in fact, in the first inning, I was very impressed with the Twins' mentality about that. I'll be honest with you, I liked the lineup having Arise as leadoff. I liked Buxton sitting there as a potential ambush person, and then if he gets on base and Arise hasn't get on base, he's potential can move himself around, and that's what we saw exactly in that first inning. I was actually really impressed with Buxton's at bat in his first at bat, which was very contrary to how impressed I was with some of his later at bats. He was swinging every breaking ball that was in and down towards his ankles. But he not only took a breaking ball pitch the opposite way to right field to get on base. He immediately stole second, giving them a real chance to score. Now they never got the hit. They did get a couple of walks. They had a screaming right line drive by Rosario that went straight to a first baseman's mitt. They had a dribbler by Sano that ended up being a victim of a really good play. But all of that aggression and such is in part because we haven't really trusted Taylor and Romo. And if they're going to win 2 more games in this, or even come back to tie this game and end up going in extra innings, they're going to need to iron out some problems at the back end of the bullpen because we can't really trust the starters to go more than 5 innings. Maeda gave it 91 pitches, was on the bench for a long time. I thought it was fully appropriate for them to pull him out after the 5th inning. He was into the lineup the 3rd time. Are there any additional levers that the Twins should be pulling when it comes to their bullpen?
I don't think there's any additional levers. I mean, they're going to roll with the guys they're going to roll with. I think, if anything, it would put interesting development that could happen. If we do tie this up, it's possible we see Odorizzi in extra innings to kind of eat up some innings there if needed. But there's really nothing that they can really do. The guys they have in their bullpen and the guys they're going to roll with. And Romo kind of got unlucky today. He lets the base runners on, but this game should still be tied, right? Romo should have gotten out of the inning. He did his job. He got the ground ball that should have got him out of the inning, and it was misplayed by his defense behind him. And that's going to happen from time to time. It's unfortunate that it happens in a postseason game and a tie game in the 9th inning, but it happens. And so it's hard to kind of pin this one on Romo and say, oh, it's Romo's fault. He did his job.
We've got a good point by Adam here. Adam says the same thing. There was a routine outblown by a shortstop, and that's absolutely true, right? There was also a couple of leadoff hits that put him into that position. Now, he did a nice job of almost wriggling out of that. But he also walked in the leading run. So it's there's a lot going on there. So let's see. I don't know. Any other? Let's see if I got any more topics. You got any more topics that you guys kind of want to cover, things that you don't think we've covered enough?
Well, I think it'd be interesting to talk about the Houston pitching situation for tomorrow, because be interesting to talk about that, given that they use potentially their two of their stronger starters tonight, and if they start McCullers tomorrow, or if they save him for game 3.
Yeah, well, that's that. Here's the thing: McCullers started on Saturday. So I would be surprised to see him pitch on a Wednesday. I would think they would give him the full 4 days worth of rest. Now, I don't think he pitched that many pitches on Saturday. So it could be that they ended up, maybe they take that chance. But I would suspect they would rather have that ace in the hole there. And I wouldn't be shocked if we see, I think Uruguay lines up well for that particular outing. He's been pretty effective for them, and frankly, they have almost a complete bullpen that they can use as well because none of their bullpen pitched in today. I mean, outside of Framber Valdez and then whoever came in to sort of close out the game there. So the Twins have lost. Was that still Valdez in that 9th inning? I didn't even notice.
Yeah.
The Twins have lost to the Astros today, 4-1 in the first game of the. This is the Postgame Pint, sponsored by SodaStick. If you get a chance, swing by SodaStickCo.com. Check out some Twins gear or some Viking gear or Wild gear. Use the promo code Twins Daily, all one word. You're going to get free shipping. So you get to get great things like this Wiener Winner T-shirt that I've got on here right now. I don't know what. I guess the game is in Barrios' hands tomorrow. I would think that would give us. My bet is that the Sharks in Vegas give the Twins the advantage in the game. Now they also had the advantage in today's game. They were minus 160. That means you have to bet 160 to win 100 if on the Twins, which also ties out to about a 63% chance is what they're saying, that the Twins had a 63% chance. And for a while it looked like they were going to do that. And then they had, a Duffy meltdown or had a little bit of bad luck and also melt down a little bit in the 7th. And then, complete meltdown by the team in the 9th. And also, like you said, let's pull this up because I really think we're probably not paying enough. It's fun to pay attention to the details in baseball, but this is the problem, right? The problem is, and the problem all year has been hitting, right? And it's been particularly hitting in clutch situations, and there's no more clutch situation right now than the postseason. I don't know. Is there any juggling that one can do to sort of shake things up? Is there any movements you would change? I actually said before the game, I appreciated the lineup. I thought the lineup was pretty good, with the exception of the Jeffers move for Garver. I didn't have a lot of concerns. I think Andrew, was it you that said you'd like to see Kirilloff in there tomorrow at first base for Sano? By the way, I can't argue against that. Not because, listen, I think that it smells a little bit like panicking, but you're also in an elimination game here, and I mean, Sano just hasn't done anything. This team, it feels like, is dying in part because it continues to play people that are a little bit dinged up and cannot really perform. Now, on the other side of that is Nelson Cruz, who has looked pretty much lost for the last 2 weeks. And then he came in today and got a clutch hit off the wall that ended up scoring Kepler. And, I just want to say that that was a big play by him. So that would kind of go against my point that these guys needed to get them some more rest or something. But right now I don't know. It feels like there's a lot of guys who just aren't hitting, and I don't really know how you end up shaking them out of that.
Yeah, I don't know if there's like a magic fix here. I mean, like Kirilloff is just a shiny new weapon, and everyone wants to see him. But I don't know if throwing a guy out there to make his major league debut in an elimination game is really the best situation you want to put a kid into. So we'll probably roll the similar lineup tomorrow. You just got to hope that one of these guys gets a good night's sleep and they come in the ballpark tomorrow ready to mash and put a crooked number up early and just let Barrios settle down. And hopefully he gets through 6 and kind of gives the bullpen an easier way out and tie this thing up and go into a game 3. And that's all we can really hope for.
And I think
Seth raises the point that the Twins were second in baseball with a 276 batting average with runners in scoring position. I think that's right, but that number was something like 330, 340 a few weeks into the season. Even when the offense was struggling, they were scoring runs, and they were scoring runs in part on that. And it's been exactly the opposite in the second half of the season. So, I'm not saying – I'll be honest with you. I'm not saying that I don't really believe in clutch hitting. I don't think there's anything you can do to sort of shake up clutch hitting, right? It just either happens or it doesn't happen. I think what you've really got is the problem here is you've got a lot of people who aren't at their best right now. It doesn't matter whether they're in a clutch situation or they're not in a clutch situation. And as a result, you've got, some real issues hitting.
Yeah, well, I think, early, right before the game, they were talking about Nelson Cruz, how he has the most home runs since 2014 of any player in the league, and it just made me think, God, I can't remember the last time the guy hit a home run, because It's been such a while. And by the way, obviously fun to be on national TV, but really appreciate Dick and Justin, and how well they know this Twins team. But I think that. Like you said, John, I don't know if it's necessarily clutch hitting or not. I just think some of the Twins' best hitters, who we've seen be some of the strongest hitters on the team, they don't have it right now. And I think, Sano probably is the biggest example of that. And yeah, maybe it doesn't make sense to start Kirilloff over him tomorrow. But at the same time, when you're looking at a must-win baseball game, do you start the guy who's been a stud through minor leagues and is known to be a powerful hitter, or do you start the guy who can't hit a boat out of water? And it's, I think, I don't know.
It's hard for me to say. It feels ridiculous to say, we're going to throw this guy into the first game of his career and expect big things from him as a savior. That seems that said, the bottom line is that I just don't have a lot of faith in a lot of the guys in the Twins lineup right now. Nate Palmer asked the question, how much do we miss Rooker right now? We did talk a little bit about that earlier. I'll just say what I was saying before. They brought in a left-handed pitching. We knew a month and a half ago that whichever team we faced in the postseason was going to be bringing in left-handers to shut down this lineup. And that's exactly what happened in the second half of the lineup after they got past their ace. And what we had hoped was that this team was going to either get right-handed people healthy or that they would acquire some help at the trade deadline. They did not acquire any help at the trade deadline, in part because they saw themselves as getting healthy, and they did. Josh Donaldson came back, Byron Buxton came back, Mitch Garver came back, and now we've lost Josh Donaldson. Byron Buxton just had a concussion, and Mitch Garver hasn't done a thing. In the meantime, Nelson Cruz looks a little dinged up, and Nelson Noah is a little dinged up. All of our right-handed hits are, you'd be silly not to be starting as much left-handed pitching as you can against us. And I should call out that since they used Framber Valdez today, they still have 2 left-handers in the bullpen that they can use, but that it probably means that the Twins are facing another right-handed starter tomorrow, which, potentially is a pitcher worse than Zach Greinke, who, despite the fact that he didn't have a fantastic year, didn't have an ace-level year, is still the veteran, cool. There's no question that Zach Greinke was ever even remotely shaken up during those innings, right? He could not have been smooth. So, I don't know. We'll see on that. Twins are snake bit. This goes back to what we talked about earlier in the thing, guys. The hardest hit balls were by the Twins, right at Astros defenders, and the Twins pitchers were not getting the corner calls on the strike zone. I agree with both of those points, TJ, and in fact, I'll add to it that I thought a number of the Astros hits that ended up getting them their first run were just grounders that ended up finding holes. Most of their threats were doing it. That said, the Twins infield defense did not do them any favors today, and that sort of whatever it is that is kind of continuing this on, there's only, you just got to play through it. You just got to get your way through it. we spent a lot of energy last weekend hoping that the Twins don't face the Yankees because it felt like the Twins were snake bit against the Yankees. We should point out that they were also 0-3 versus the A's during that 16-game losing streak. They got swept out. The 2016, which I consider the best team of the Ron Gardenhire era, and I think it's not even particularly close, maybe one of the better teams, top 5 teams in Twins history, ended up getting swept out of the playoffs by the A's, right? And now the Twins are, potentially 24 hours from being swept out of this by the Astros, which weren't even a 500 team during the regular season. So.
Yeah, also, I kind of feel like maybe once the Twins kind of snap this curse and roll the other way, maybe they'll get the win tomorrow and they'll rip off 12 more in a row and just kind of flip the script on a little bit. And I feel like that's where it's at. Once they get the monkey off their back and kind of play a little more loose in the postseason, I think we'll see this team have more success. And I just hope that tomorrow they can just get that done. And even if they win by 1 run and it's a 1-0 game, doesn't matter. Just get that first postseason W and then just let them continue to roll from there.
All right. Sorry, go ahead, David. You go ahead.
I was just going to say, yeah, I completely agree. Baseball is a funny game. Maybe Miguel Sano goes out tomorrow, hits 3 for 4 with a home run. But I agree that once the Twins get the monkey off their back of getting a playoff win, however the heck it looks, I think they're going to be able to play a lot more loose.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you, but they've got to do it, right? I mean, I don't know exactly, during the when they did not make any trades at the trade deadline, the day that they came back empty at the trade deadline, the 3:00 trade deadline, that night they played the White Sox, and they faced Lucas Giolito, who came close to a perfect game, or not close, but he was pitching a perfect game through the 6th into the 7th inning today versus the 8th for the White Sox, right? They're ace. And the Twins got to him early. They got to him early in part because the White Sox made a lot of errors. And then slowly but surely we watched as that game faded and faded and faded to the point where it ended up slipping away in the 9th inning after Max Kepler had a ball literally hit his glove, a fly ball hit his glove and drop out of it. And that was a snake bit feeling, right? That was the low point of the season. Immediately after that, Rocco Baldelli called a team meeting together, and we expected to hear it was a lot of fire and brimstone, and basically what it was is it was not that. It was Baldelli saying to them, you've got to find a path out of this. We've got to find a path out of this. There is a path to the World Series that we can find, and we've got to find it. And right now, it doesn't feel like it's anywhere we feel trapped, but there's a path, and we just got to find it. And now it reminds me of this. It reminds me of an 0-17 start. Things seem to be going against this team that have no business, no logical reason that you should have 6 balls hit 100 miles per hour, and they all, 5 of the 6 end up in outs. There's no logical reason why you get to Zach Greinke early and a line drive goes straight to the first baseman, right? A 50-50 play at first base ends up going against the Twins, right? Ground balls go through. And I'm not making up excuses here. I'm just saying stuff happens, right? And you've got to react to it. And they made, you compound those with some of your own mistakes. The Polanco play to Arise, absolutely that. But, ultimately what you have to do, the team has to find a way to get past this. And it starts with the simplest thing. It starts with winning a baseball game. Go out there and win a baseball game tomorrow, right?
Yep.
And we will see. We will see if they can pull that off. Barrios on the mound. We don't know who we're facing from the Astros. I don't know if they've announced that yet or not. Maybe somebody out there in the comments has who the Twins will be facing. My guess is it's Urquidy. And I'll add Seth's point here, which I think is a good one. They absolutely care. Maybe they care too much and are trying to do too much. That's exactly how it felt versus the White Sox in that game. It felt like everybody was trying to do too much. They were gripping the bat too hard. They were, that throw by Polanco today is an easy throw that you're trying too hard to make the perfect throw and pull a Rise off the base. You know what I mean? Rise has trouble catching it. It feels like everybody's trying to do stuff perfect, and they're just not getting there and finding it. And sometime between now and noon tomorrow, they've got to find their way there. Thank you, David. Thank you, Andrew, for joining the Postgame Pint. I want to thank everybody who joined into us. We've got a pretty good crowd out there today. We got a lot of good comments today, and I think the comments really helped move the conversation along. We will have another Postgame Pint tomorrow. The game starts at noon. My guess is we will start the post-game pint around 4 o'clock. It might even be a true post-game pint. We might wait until the game is completely over. I'll let Seth, the host, decide that. Follow along at Twins Daily. You'll be able to find it if you go to Facebook, the Twins Daily Facebook page. You'll be able to see it. If you go to YouTube's Twins Daily YouTube page, you'll be able to, you go to post-game pint. You'll find a link to it tomorrow. Again, thank you to everybody who joined us. Thank you to Andrew. Thank you to David. And Win Twins. We'll see you tomorrow.